He's going to come tell you about it. Come on, Brother Joey. This boy's from down in Alabama. And I want y'all to listen real carefully to what he's going to say. Real carefully.
Ain't God good? Ain't God good? He's been good to me. Gosh, he's been good to me. Everybody repeat after me. Dear Jesus, speak to my heart. Change my life. In your precious name I pray. Amen. I feel like Nick Saban up here tonight. I don't know if y'all ever watched Nick Saban at an interview. He can't talk without using his hands. And I'm having to hold this microphone. If I can't use my hands, I may not be able to talk. But how many Alabama fans we got in here? Boo! Wow. What about Auburn fans? No Auburn fans? One. What about Tennessee? Tennessee, wow. Yeah. I went to Alabama-Tennessee game last year. You know what the Tennessee fans started doing? Throwing fireworks at us. You know what we did? We lit them and threw them back. Isn't that something? God convicted me a few years ago. We had Alabama tickets and was going to several games, and I was one of the biggest fans. I would jump up and hoot and holler every time they scored, every time they made a defensive tackle, and God come to me and said, you know, why don't you praise me like you do at a football game? And I got thinking about that, and, you know, it dawned on me that I worried about what people around me thought. When I was at a game, I didn't care. You know, I would hoot and holler. But when I got in church service, I was afraid to put up my hands because of what I thought somebody would see. I was afraid to shout. And that kept me from worshiping my God, my Jesus that has done so much for me. And I would go to a football game and praise and worship these guys in this school that would charge me money to get there and charge me $9 for a Coke and $4 for water, but I was afraid to praise and worship my Jesus. And it's just amazing, you know, what he can do. When the Spirit hits me, I get excited. It reminds me of my son. When he first started to walk, if he would hurt himself, if he would fall or hurt his leg or hurt his arm, he'd just take off running. And he'd run out the door, across the creek, to the other side, around the house. And you could always tell if he got hurt pretty bad because he'd stay gone a while. And then he might come back, and, you know, we would doctor him. And I would always ask him, son, why did you run? He'd say, well, I don't really know, Dad. I just wanted to run. And that's the way I feel when the Spirit hits me. I just want to run. I don't know if y'all ever been to churches where you've seen guys run up and down the aisle, but that's the way I feel sometimes when the Spirit hits me. I want to jump and shout and run. And you know, he's been really, really good to me. Talking about Alabama, I had the pleasure to go a few months ago and listen to Jeremiah Castile. He is Alabama's football team chaplain, and he has a great testimony. I don't know if any of you have heard him, but you should look him up on YouTube. It's just amazing to hear where he come from and how far he went and what he's doing now for men. Apart from the football team out in the world, every time he gives his testimony. Bear Bryant was one of the greatest coaches ever, probably the greatest up to this time, up to the point he died. But some of his last few words before he died was, out of everything he done and all the men that he touched and the lives that he touched, that he said that he wished that he would have worked harder to lead more people to Christ. And isn't that amazing to think about, as much as he did, that he still lacked in being a winner for Christ that we should be. And I want to speak to you tonight about the people that we choose to be around, the people that we choose to let be in our lives. And I can tell you, when I was young, I went to church, and I had a good mom. I had an alcoholic dad, and I come from an alcoholic family. But I knew right from wrong, and I chose to not do right. I was rebellious. I was full of pride, and that caused me to go down many roads that I regret now. But looking back, it's taught me a lot of things. And you know, as a child, I didn't ever say, I don't ever remember saying, you know, I want to be a drug user, I want to be an alcoholic. And I didn't just wake up one day and become a drug user. It started at a young age. And it didn't just start with drugs. It started with being rebellious and being full of pride and not obeying my parents and not obeying the authority in my life. And I can tell you that through that led me to a lifestyle that made me think that I knew what was best for me, that nobody could tell me what to do. And if you tried to tell me what to do, I'd done just the opposite. And it did nothing but hurt me. And I spoke to some of them up here last night and told them that in that, I thought at that time, well, it's my body. I can do what I want to. If I want to, use drugs, if I want to drink, I can. But I didn't realize what I was doing to my body, and I didn't realize what I was doing to my family, my sister, my mother, my father, my friends, and as I got older, my wife and my children. And it took me down roads that I would have never went down if I had have followed what I was told by my Sunday school teacher, by my parents when they tried, and by teachers and by people that cared about me. But I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I knew everything, and lo and behold, I did not. And it's taken me several years to realize that. And I was telling one of the guys earlier that if you're a rebellious child and you don't listen and you don't pay attention to the adults and the authority in your life, one day when you get to be an adult and you're still a rebellious, disobedient adult, you will be put in your place. God will put you in a place to where you will understand and you will come to a point to where you have to obey. For me, that was jail. And it was not a fun experience. It happened through just a series of events that of me, again, thinking that I knew what was best for me. And when I spent that time in jail, I was in there about a week, and I fell on my knees, and I told God, I said, if you'll get me out of this situation, and I wasn't speaking about just out of jail, I was asking him to get me out of the lifestyle that I had created, the drug use, the abandoning my family, just the bad choices that I was making. And I remember how it felt. It come over me, a feeling came over me, and within 3 days, I was preaching in jail. Brother Ricky came, I think the next Monday night. I had been praying for God to move, and he did. That next Monday night, we had 16 men commit their lives to Christ right there in that jailhouse. Brother Ricky brought Bibles. We distributed Bibles, and those men's lives are changed because of that. And it didn't happen because of me, but it happened through me because I was willing to commit my life to Christ and stop being so selfish and thinking I knew everything, and ask God to help other people too. And he did. And it's just amazing to see God work through our obedience and through our denial of self. Yeah. Kids, I want to tell you tonight, these people that are in your life, they're looking to equip you, to encourage you, and to raise your level of expectation for yourself. But you have to buy into that. God gives us free will to do what we want to do. And if you choose to do wrong, the results are going to be bad. I've been down that road, and I'm here to tell you right now, everybody look at me right now. If your parents or nobody in your life has ever told you that the life of drugs and alcohol and disobedience and selfishness won't lead you down a path of destruction, I'm here to tell you it will. I'm telling you it will. I've been there. I'm one of those that was saved. I had a friend about a little over a year ago, 25 years old, not much older than some of you. He was a drug user. He was an athlete. He could play baseball. They won a state championship up in Huntsville. One of the best athletes I've ever known. And he had been through a year rehab program, and actually a year and 6 months. He spent 6 months there as an intern, and was rebellious there, and just decided to go his own way again. I mean, he knew better. And about 6 months after his stay at that program, his mother and dad found him in his bedroom with a needle still in his arm, dead, 25 years old. And I know that happens all across the world, but that just happens local, and I knew about it. And that man's gone now. His family, the great people of God, and he didn't make it. And there's so many that out there that don't make it because they chose to go down that road. And I just encourage you to listen when people are trying to tell you something. I've been that kid that sat in church and the preacher preached to me, or in Sunday school, and they preached to me, talked to me, tried to tell me, and I said, this don't mean anything. This means nothing, to go out and do my own thing. And just time after time of me doing that and not listening led me down those roads thinking that I knew everything, and it was detrimental to my life. And I just want to tell y'all, as long as you're strong-willed, you disqualify yourself from God's grace. That God cannot pour out His grace on you if you feel like that you're strong-willed and you know more than God does. It's just not. It doesn't work that way. It's not going to work that way. And also, a sense of entitlement will rob you of your trust of God in God. If you feel like that you're entitled to something, I know Brother Danny was speaking about it the other night that that us boys and girls, we think, well, I don't need that. They don't need to tell me what to do. If you think that you're entitled to a new car or a new phone or new this or new that, that robs you of your trust in God to give you things, and that way you can look back on them and know that they come from God and that your prayers have been answered. Whatever you feed lives. Whatever you starve dies. If you feed your spirit, it's going to live and it's going to prosper. I can promise you that. For over a year now, I've been feeding my spirit, and it has done nothing but grow and grow and grow. For over 20 years, I fed my flesh, and it growed and it growed and it growed, and it done nothing but cause me destruction, heartache, and a path, again, that I didn't want to go down, caused me to go down a path that I didn't want to go down. And Proverbs 16:3 says, commit your works unto the Lord, and your thoughts shall be established. And that tells me to everything that I do, commit it to the Lord. And I'd like to speak to y'all a little bit about in Luke tonight. Who does God want us to be like? Who did He send an example for us to be like? Anybody? Jesus. We want to mold our lives and shape our lives after Jesus. And if you would, get your Bibles out and look to Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 2. Verse 41 and 42. Luke chapter 2, verse 41, 42. Guys, He sent an example for us that we should live our lives like Jesus did. And for Jesus, it started at an early age. Nathan, you got it? Logan, you got it? Read it for me, Logan. 41 and 42. Read it out loud where everybody can hear it. You there? You're not there? All right. Somebody else read it. Luke 41 and 42. Yes, sir. Read it loud where everybody can hear it. Hold up right there. 12 years old. This was Jesus Christ, 12 years old. Go ahead and finish the rest of that verse. 12 years old, Jesus was already learning about what God was trying to teach him in his life. Read 46 and 47. Hold up. After 3 days, Jesus was still missing. So that tells me that Jesus spent 3 days in the temple at 12 years old trying to learn more about God and His purpose in his life. I can tell you pretty sure when I was 12 years old, I wasn't caring about what was going on in the church. I was probably out trying to shoot my neighbor's dog with a BB gun. You know, I wasn't about my Father's business. I for sure wasn't. All right, now read 51 and 52. Hold up right there. And was subject unto his parents. That means obedient. Jesus was, after being at the temple for 3 days, his parents came and got him, and he left with them and was obedient to them. Go ahead with that in 52. Wow. In favor with God and man. Look at what he was doing at 12 years old. How many 12-year-olds we got in here? Raise your hand if you're 12. 1, 2, 3. 12 years old. Jesus was in the temple. His parents didn't know where he was for 3 days. Jesus did what I did not do. I did not surround myself with good people. At 12, 14, 16, I surrounded myself with the people that I thought was cool. Danny spoke on it, that when you surround yourself with people that are doing drugs or are doing things that are negative, you're going to become like them. I can assure you that the 2 to 3 people that you surround yourself with, you're either going to become like them or they're going to become like you. I can assure you. And I can tell you an example of that because I've went a part of my life without trying not to cuss. And I would go for a while, and I would get around somebody that did, and it wouldn't be long, a day or two later, I'd be cussing myself, and I'd catch myself. I'd be, man, I shouldn't be doing that. But looking back, I realized that I was hanging around people that were doing that. But I think about Jesus here. At 12 years old, he surrounded himself with people that were about God. He was about his Father's business. And we should do that every day of our life. We should surround ourselves. I encourage you young people that are in these churches with these older people that are trying to lead you in the right direction. Listen and obey to what they're trying to tell you. Because I was saved when I was 14, and I spoke with some of the people up there last night. And I went to a church that they cared about my salvation, but once I got saved, they kind of forgot about me and put me on the back burner. And I didn't have enough sense to follow and to do what was right. And that's when I started hanging around those people and making bad decisions and still being stubborn and rebellious. And it led to a lot of heartache. And I wish I would have listened a lot earlier in my life. I really do. So I encourage you young people, you have an opportunity ahead of you to, no matter what your parents did or didn't do, this is the first day of the rest of your life. And you have an opportunity to make good decisions. And that starts day by day. It's the little foxes that ruin the vineyard. And it won't happen. When I was a young child, I didn't just decide that I'm going to use drugs, but it happened a little at a time, making one bad decision day after day, month after month, year after year. And that caused me a lot of heartache and pain. So, guys, if I can encourage anything, just day by day, make the next right decision in your life. If it feels like it's wrong, it's probably wrong. And seek people in your life. I've had to do that now. I have people in my life that I call my advisors that they don't even know they're my advisors, but I use them. I text them if I have something going on. I call them, if I'm going through something, and they usually give me a word of encouragement. They give me scripture. And like Jesus here, if y'all remember, when the devil came to tempt Jesus, what was always the first thing he said? The scriptures say. He always went to Scripture when the devil tried to tempt him. Use the Bible and use prayer to get you out of those situations. God always gives you a doorway out if we use it. The devil only has power in our life that we give him. He does not have any control in our life other than what we give him. I encourage you, young children, to make good decisions. Follow your heart. And I'm going to leave you with this couple of paragraphs here. Joy, we spoke about it tonight in the song. Joy comes from Christ. Choose to live in joy. Life goes by in the blink of an eye. It's too short to live upset, angry, resentful, or ungrateful. If you look for the good, you will find it. Choose to be happy. Choose to be at peace. Decide that each day is going to be a great day and grab each moment and make the best of it. Refuse to let negative thoughts take root in your mind, and refuse to let negative people and situations drag you down. Trust your journey and know that if you make a mistake, it's okay. See it as a lesson learned and keep moving forward. Spend less time worrying and more time being grateful. For those who love you and all of life's goodness, choose to live joy. Thank you.